I was on Facebook a couple of weeks ago and ran across this post from Michael Lewis saying, "One of many that I should have never let go." Everybody's got a tale like that, right? But what caught my attention was 1986 Les Paul Custom, and it had a maple fretboard. There were very few guitars made in the mid-80s with that combination. We just recently documented many of the original Blonde Beauties, including one of these mid-80s runs, as well as the more common 70s version with the maple neck. But since the one I also just recently added to my collection was an 86, I decided to take a closer look at his photo here to see if there were any identifying characteristics about it. We can see a seam line going on right here. We can see a very ringy wood grain pattern. Over here on the upper bout, we also have another ringiness going on. That's certainly more to go off of than we normally have when it comes to like a black Les Paul Custom or a silver burst. But sure enough, come back to my video, we can see another ringy pattern here and continuing there, but we've got these two splotches. Does that match over here? Yep. Do we have the ringy wood grain down here along the tailpiece? Sure seems like it, but again, we've got two splotches. Even with this photo quality, we can see the exact same things going on. But just to be sure, do we have another piece of wood joining on for our three-piece top with some V patterns over here? Sure enough, join line, more V-shaped patterns. What are the odds of that? Within 6 minutes of this guy posting, he finds the owner of his old guitar. So I reach out to him to see if he wants to be reunited with this, because even though this fills a very specific niche in my collection, I have a soft spot for original owners who let things go and they really want them back. But unfortunately, he was not currently in the market, but he did share this old video with me of his hit song, Fresh Perspective, where we can see him playing it live on television. How cool is that? It's just added to the entire story of this guitar within my collection. So when you're ready for it, man, I will sell it back to you, but until then, it's fun to at least know the original owner and how much he actually played it, because that's the thing about this guitar is it's really clean. But we actually have proof of it being played live in a band here. He was even able to find a photo of the serial number to confirm it even more so, but he was sad when he found out that it smelled like drugs. Thankfully, that smell has since gone away, but we still have the replaced nut going on. But a bit more about the story is he sold it back in 2009, but I'd gotten it out of Georgia, so he at least knows where his old guitar is, because that's half the battle. But I found his final comment funny, about how it was like watching someone dance with his gorgeous ex-girlfriend. Well, what a fun additional tale, and we're just getting started tonight, because you won't believe your eyes when you see what Jeff listed on Facebook. Look at this thing. I was completely awestruck at first sight. It's this gorgeous deep blue finish with a little bit of black going on, but the binding matches the color, so that means this has to be a Blue Widow. But as you continue to scroll up here, you can see it's been modified a little bit. We've got some really aggressive looking humbuckers with these scratch marks in it, which look kind of cool. It's been all blacked out as far as your hardware. But take a second just to take that quilt top in. It's not the heaviest quilt we've ever seen, but it's so deep in 3D, even though we only have one photo to go off of. But let's just say I was not prepared to switch this photo and then see abalone inlays on top of that. Blue must be this guy's favorite color, because you're going to get that, some greens, all the other cool stuff within your shell inlay. But then moving on to the face of our headstock, you can see that he utilized a black nut. And then look at your completely blacked out truss rod cover. That works really well with this neon blue finish for the rest of the headstock. And then all your usual Blue Widow treatments here as far as your logo also being sprayed over. The combination of the black tuners with that truss rod cover and that nut with the fretboard and inlays, all that stuff, makes this one of the nicest Blue Widows I've seen. But I really wasn't prepared for the backside of the headstock. That's a whole lot of fun. It's got his initials for the serial number, JDG, and then 007. I would assume that's like a 007 reference and there's not actually 7 of these out there. But then as we zoom down, he's got a little critter back here. And in one of his comments, he says his girlfriend designed the Panther and that he took the stinger idea from the original Black Widow 2009 run. From this photo though, I'm not sure if it's actually underneath the finish or if it's a decal that's been applied after the fact. Maybe Jeff can chime in the comment section. But I thought that was a fun throwback. And yes, you heard that right. It is a blue stinger and then it matches on to what looks like a dark blue neck. That is one really cool Les Paul you've got there, Jeff. But next up we had Pablo asking a question if $2,300 was good for this Les Paul. What immediately caught my attention is That's a really strange ringy wood grain pattern there. You don't see that every day on a Gibson 60s Les Paul Standard. So some guys were saying, yeah, it's worth it. Other guys were saying, no, maybe haggle them a bit more. In this market, yeah, that probably should be like an 18 to a 2100-ish. Because I think the average buyer would probably say that is a blemish that is not desirable. However, I'm in the camp where I could like that if the price was right. It's unique. Not what I had in mind initially, but it's certainly something that would make your guitar stand out. Viewing it from a new angle, it looks like some of the darkness comes in and out depending on which light you're viewing it in too. Unfortunately, he never updated the thread with whether or not he went for it, but I swear we saw one similar to this in the demo shop not that long ago. Next, to continue on our Blue Widow theme, here's one with gold hardware and 3 pickups. I think I finally unlocked what made Jeff's look so good. It's the black chrome hardware. I mean, nothing against this gold, right? It's beautiful and blingy. However, it just doesn't quite bring out the darkness of the rest of the finish like those juggernauts did. But this was cool to see show up as a comparison piece. But next up, we have one from a music store, Lausanne Music. This was very fascinating to my eyes. Because A, look, we've got P90s with an iguana burst style finish, really nice looking flame top overall, heavy arm wear over here so you can tell it's one of those Murphy Lab aged guitars. But all things considered, I would say it's relatively tastefully done, and you don't see R6s in custom colors every day of the week. As far as our fretboard, it looks like regular rosewood materials, nothing too much changed on our headstock, outside of some wear along our edge, or that could just be some light reflecting or a combination of both. But where this one truly shone was when you flip it over to the back. Again, usually I'm not a big aging fan, but this big bear patch kind of works cosmetically and color tone wise with our new green back instead of our regular aniline dyes. And here you can see where they've really roughed up the finish in this area and all along this other side. We also have some by the heel in our cutaway. But then just look at the mahogany wood grain in general. We've just been seeing a lot of green guitars come out of the custom shop lately. Are people finally coming around to them? Because you've got the creamy P90 pickups, which matches with your binding, as well as the worn through dirty maple areas. So would this still look good as a cherry sunburst or any of these other colors that I can use the power of keying to create? I guess I'll let you guys be the judge. But I thought this was a pretty cool one. But next, Lair shared a custom shot from the year 2003. First glance, appears to be some sort of a custom. We've got our ebony fretboard with our mother of pearl block inlays. But as we continue to go down and look at more, that's when, things are vastly different all of a sudden. In the mid-2000s, Gibson was experimenting with tribal designs on guitars. Sometimes you can also view them as flames. There's a few different versions. There's even some out there that have a relief carving, and then you can also find pinstripes like we talked about in this episode. But I have this tribal Les Paul custom still in my collection just because even though I'm not normally into this type of thing, the color scheme worked out great. I don't actively remember seeing a BB7 reissue have one of these. So that's a 1957 reissue, meaning we have things like the mahogany top, which you can see has excellent wood grain. Might be more accurate to say that's just the mahogany body. There's no maple top is what we're getting at here. It's just one big chunk of mahogany carved up. And these always like to have triple humbuckers, but not always. Sometimes you'll also find a Bigsby on it down here, but this one is an exception to that. But he said it's from 2003, so that lines up perfectly for all of our other good flamey goodness. But what's very unique is look closely by these knobs. If we zoom in here so you can really see, is that blood? Has somebody been sliced by the thumb bleeders? You can see that they are present. And then it's like running over the tailplate. No, that's the original cherry stain that this guitar had. Originally, the guitar would have looked something along the lines of this, a nice cherry stain. But over time, they fade into more of just the regular mahogany color. The nice thing about the mahogany top is sometimes you can find figured mahogany ones, and they're very interesting like this one. But anyways, here's the best I can do, color correcting it to look cherry again. The only difference here is we had this design over top of it, and now it's just flames over mahogany. Gives it a very interesting appearance. But you've got your ABR1 bridge, it's going to have the long neck tenon. So one of those, that's not how the custom shop intended it, but that's the way it is about 20 years later. And we've got one more interesting one to talk about tonight. We've got a Byrdland with a Florentine cutaway with a very unique finish. It's hard to tell, is it cowhide? Is it a natural spruce top that we did some wood burning or something to? Or is it just an interestingly wood-grained piece of wood? I'm honestly not too sure, but we've got a little Indian guy over here. And if we go up here, we can see, oh, it says Ted Nugent on our fretboard, and we've got some arrowheads as our inlays all throughout. And then if we really zoom in on this photo, we can see it says the Great White Buffalo. And we've got some cool tuner tips on it. Perhaps it's actually buffalo skin. The only other photo I can find of this one labels it as Ted Nugent's 60th birthday guitar. So whatever it is, that is pretty interesting. But just for extra fun, it looks like he also has a white Byrdland with his name on it. And Great White Buffalo, haha, funny, it's white. But man, is that really just a written on Gibson logo there? Hard to tell when we get that zoomed in. Here we go, that's a much better photo. It says Nuge for Nugent, GWB, Great White Buffalo, and then a golden Gibson logo. But alright, Troglodytes, I think that's enough fun for tonight. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.